Asia Pacific Groupings, Trading Policy Options for Sri Lanka. By Dr. Srimal Fernando, published on Ceylon today. Dr. Srimal Fernando is a recipient of the prestigious Jindal Doctoral Fellowship. He is also the South Asian University Scholarship recipient under the SAARC. Dr. Srimal is the author of upcoming book Politics, Economics and Connectivity in Search of South Asia. Dr. Srimal in his introduction mentions an important point about regional integration in Asia. Greater economic integration within the Asia-Pacific region began coming into being some years ago with the formation of several regional groupings. In the trade realm, the combined effort by the regional blocs has necessitated the three regional blocs ASEAN, SAARC and RCEP to develop a framework for an Asia-Pacific regional order. Due to the unprecedented impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, small island nations such as Sri Lanka have to balance their commerce policies and making based on its interdependencies with its neighboring Asia Pacific realm nations. This nature of the involvement of Sri Lanka with Asia Pacific nations has varied with time as the national interest has gone through different stages of evolution. The growing traction between these rising regional groupings and the Indian Ocean island nation is driven by their foreign policy oriented towards utilizing this mutual interdependence for strategic gains. As an island nation, renewed economic policies will play a significant role in promoting the economic development of Sri Lanka. To this end, Sri Lanka's economic policy must be aligned to enhance the nation's economic interests while ensuring that its engagement in other regional groupings such as Association of Southeast Asian Nations and RCEP does not compromise its relations with South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. Dr. Srimal further mentions, in the 21st century, the power matrix between bigger groupings such as the 15-member Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, or the 10-member ASEAN and the smaller groupings will be determined by this paradigm shift in the global order. The evolving geopolitical and economic facing the Asian Pacific countries, in general, will also prompt Sri Lanka to forge closer ties with India. Meanwhile, the SAARC has emerged as a key trading platform for Sri Lanka in recent years. Under its South Asian Free Trade Area, SAFTA, agreement, Sri Lanka's trade with its neighbors has expanded generously, giving the island nation more extensive admittance to South Asia's 1.6 billion consumer market. From an economic perspective, trade relations between Sri Lanka and SAARC is a major aspect that has propelled the shaping of foreign policy through mutual dependence. The South Asia Free Trade Agreement, SAFTA, and the Indo-Sri Lanka Free Trade Agreement, ISFTA, provided an impetus to commercial diplomacy. The most notable economic progress in the region has been made in the sphere of small and medium enterprises, SMEs. However, the lack of significant foreign direct investments, FDIs, in some of the South Asian countries is slowing down economic growth. In this regard, regional trading platforms like SAFTA, the ASEAN Free Trade Agreement, AFTA, and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, are some of the platforms that Sri Lanka can leverage to access Asia-Pacific consumer markets. For Sri Lanka, ASEAN is key to the major goal of tapping into the East Asian markets and establishing a commercial relationship with East Asian countries. From the time of the Bandung Summit of 1955, Sri Lanka's relationship with Southeast Asian countries has been strong. In recent years, ASEAN has played a prominent role in building this partnership to grow further. Mutually beneficial agreements between India and ASEAN such as the ASEAN-India Free Trade Area, AFTA, are also bringing Sri Lanka closer to ASEAN. This will go a long way in influencing and impact the future roles of both India and Sri Lanka's newfound regional commercial partners in East Asia. Equally, maritime cooperation between Sri Lanka and the 15-member RCEP countries will be a game-changer in Sri Lanka's quest to maintain its stability in the region and also for its economic prosperity. It is this coincidence of strategic interests that would steer future dynamics between Sri Lanka and other RCEP member states. At the same time, RCEP nations provide Sri Lanka with access to huge markets and are indispensable for its port diplomacy. Just like other island nations across the world, the COVID-19 pandemic has had a significant impact on the economy of Sri Lanka. Given the nature of the pandemic, countries such as Sri Lanka have been forced to seek national responses of managing the impacts of the pandemic. Importantly, the efforts of regional groupings offer important platforms of ensuring that countries that are heavily dependent on exports like Sri Lanka to recover from the economic impacts of the pandemic. The award-winning foreign policy analyst and regional expert Dr. Srimal Fernando, in his conclusion says, amidst the economic despondency as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, such regional groupings and arrangements are a shining beacon of hope for the Sri Lankan economy. Importantly, the prospects of cooperation between Sri Lanka, ASEAN and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, and also India will depend on how they choose to strengthen the existing power matrix. It is also imperative for policymakers to think beyond and make the trade transaction smoother and business-friendly for Sri Lanka and both these regional groupings geographically situated in Southeast Asia and Oceania.